Have you ever just stopped and wondered, is there a fundamental way to describe absolutely everything that exists? I mean, not just the stuff you can touch, but everything. Well, about 2,400 years ago, Aristotle believed he had cracked that very code. He came up with something he called the categories, and they were basically a blueprint for reality itself. So let's dive in.
No, really, go ahead and do it. Pick up your phone or look at your coffee mug. You can talk about its color, its shape, its weight, where it is, what it's doing. The list just feels endless, right? How would you even start to organize all that information?
That's his answer. 10. Not 9, not 11, just 10. He made this incredibly bold claim that every single thing you could possibly say about that mug in front of you, or anything in the entire universe, falls into one of these 10 basic boxes. It's a huge claim. So today, we're going to break down exactly what those categories are and figure out why this idea became one of the most influential in all of Western history.
So here's our roadmap. We'll start with how Aristotle even came up with this idea. Then we'll get into the most important category of all, substance, before looking at the other 9 accidents that all depend on it. From there, we'll see why this is so much more than a list. It's a real blueprint for reality. And finally, we'll trace its incredible legacy through time.
So where did Aristotle get this list of 10? Well, he didn't just dream it up. He was a super keen observer. He basically listened to how people talk. He noticed that all the things we say about something, the predicates, if you want to get grammatical, can be sorted into just a few basic, irreducible types. He was searching for the ultimate building blocks of how we describe the world.
All right, let's get to the absolute bedrock of his entire system. Because before you can say anything about a thing, well, you need the thing itself. And for Aristotle, this is the first and by far the most important category, substance.
Substance, or ousia, as he called it in Greek, is the individual thing that can stand on its own. It's not a quality like blue or a number like 3. It's the actual thing that is blue or weighs 3 pounds. So think of a specific person, like Socrates or that particular horse over there. That's the substance. It's the subject of the sentence, the star of the show.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Aristotle actually splits substance into 2 types. You've got primary substance, which is the concrete individual, Socrates, the man himself. That's what's most real. And then you have secondary substance, which is the general label we put on him, like his species, human, or his genus, animal. See the difference? Socrates is a human. That makes sense. But a human is Socrates? Doesn't work. The individual always comes first.
Okay, so we've got our foundation, the individual substance. But what about all the other stuff we want to say about it? That's where the other 9 categories come into play. Aristotle calls them accidents, not because they're mistakes, but because their very existence is accidental to, or, dependent on, a substance.
And this is absolutely crucial. You just can't have whiteness floating around in the universe all by itself. It's not a thing. You need a white horse or a white wall, a substance, for that quality of whiteness to even exist. The same goes for tallness or sitting. They need a subject to belong to.
Now, to make these 9 a little less intimidating, we can actually group them into 3 pretty intuitive buckets. First up, you've got measurements, like quantity, place, and time. Then there are attributes, like quality, relation, and position. And finally, you have states of being, which are state, action, and passion. So let's just quickly blow through what these actually mean.
This stuff is pretty straightforward, right? Quantity is how much, like Socrates is 5 feet tall. Place is where. He's in the Lyceum. Time is when, yesterday. And quality is what kind of thing is it? He's wise or brave. These are all the different characteristics of the substance.
The rest of the list just continues this. Relation is how it compares to something else, larger than. Plato. Position is its posture. He's sitting. State, or having, is what it's equipped with. He is armed. And then you have this really neat dynamic duo at the end. Action, which is what it's doing, like he cuts. And passion, what's being done to it, like he is cut. Doing and being done to.
So, we have our list of 10, but so what? Why does this matter? Well, this is way, way more than just a grammar lesson. For Aristotle, this system is a powerful tool at the very core of his metaphysics, his theory about the fundamental nature of reality. It's literally his blueprint for how the world is put together.
And Aristotle himself couldn't be clearer about the main principle here. He says, substance comes first in every possible way. You can't even define white without first having a concept of a thing that can be white. You can't know tall before you know what a tall thing is. The individual substance is the anchor for everything else.
So what does this blueprint actually let him do? Well, for one, it explains change. The substance, Socrates, stays Socrates even while his accidents change. He can go from sitting to standing or from healthy to pale. It also gives him a framework to analyze causality. And this is a big one, it's his direct challenge to his teacher Plato. Instead of reality existing in some abstract realm of forms, Aristotle says, no, reality is right here, in the concrete individual things we can actually point to. You can almost think of it as the world's first object-oriented programming, but for reality itself. It was totally revolutionary.
Now, the impact of this simple-looking list of 10 words, it is almost impossible to overstate. It didn't just define Aristotle's work, it basically set the terms for how the entire Western world would think and talk about reality for thousands of years.
For more than 2 millennia, pretty much every major thinker in the West had to deal with Aristotle's categories. You either used them, adapted them, or you had to argue against them. But you couldn't ignore them. That's just a testament to how powerful his attempt to map reality was.
And you can just trace this incredible journey through time. Aristotle lays the groundwork. Then, centuries later, thinkers like Thomas Aquinas weave it into the very fabric of Christian theology. Fast forward to the 18th century, and Immanuel Kant comes along and completely flips the idea, saying these categories aren't out in the world, they're actually built-in structures in our minds. And it doesn't even stop there. The whole project gets a new life in the 20th century. When you boil it all down, what Aristotle gave us was one of the most ambitious and powerful attempts in history to create a complete, exhaustive map of being. He tried to draw a map of reality itself, and for centuries, that was the map everyone used.
So, that leaves us with one final thought.
Look, in a world of quantum physics and big data, Aristotle's 10 categories might seem a little quaint, but the core question he was asking is more relevant than ever. When we design a database, or when we try to teach an AI how to understand the world, we are still asking Aristotle's question: what are the fundamental categories we need? So, if you had that job today, where would you even start? What would be on your list?